13, 12, 11, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Tonight, on our final deep dive into the 007 franchise, maybe, Ginny and I tackle The Rock. Are you ready, Ginny?
I'm ready. Kind of. I'm kind of ready.
Welcome, everyone, to 00 Deep Dive. I figure we need to give it something dramatic with that Hans Zimmer music behind us.
I feel like you were channeling Sean Connery, being like, "Are you ready?" And me going, "Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm a scientist. I don't do this." That sounds like Keanu. That's a little more Keanu.
Ginny, losers whine about doing their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
Of course they do. Of course they do, Jason.
Which, by the way, I as a teenager, I loved that line. Looking back, it's so misogynistic.
But I have thoughts about that line though. In retrospect, to a James Bond, mayhaps.
That's true. But before we really get into it, just during this broadcast, you can support our page by sending stars, a digital gift that helps us earn money. Come hang out. Bring your shaken, not stirred martini. Pour one around. All right. Let's dive right in, Ginny, because I think we're both excited to talk about this movie. So do you, after you watch this, do you see a case for this to be a backdoor James Bond movie?
Well, maybe I'm biased because I watched it with I have never seen this movie before, and I watched it going in 100%. Yep, with the mindset of that. I don't think I've ever heard that theory till you said it to me early, way back when we started doing this, maybe because we talked about Connery in general, and so I think that's why I came into it going, I'm picturing him as Bond, they're just not addressing his full name. I don't even remember if we say. I guess we say his full name in this, but it's not.
It's like something like James or John Mason or something, but it's like a very nothing name. Like it very easily could not be. It's not probably likely not his real name.
I know. And I'm like, what, and if I'm playing this like alternate universe fan fiction game of, well, what if what timeline is this? If it's what would his Bond be like in the 70s? Because that's when everything kind of happens for his, in this universe, in this Michael Bay universe, that Bond gets kidnapped or not kidnapped, taken in the 70s, imprisoned, and then it's just held there for God knows how long, and his own country sort of abandons him. But it's the 70s, and we only have a Sean Connery Bond in the 70s.
No, that's it. That's the theory. Is it is a Sean Connery Bond, and if you remember, Diamonds Are Forever is 1971, and that places him in, I believe, California.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and there's a link there's a video that I have watched. I didn't rewatch it for the show, but I watched a while ago that goes over this. I'm going to credit it by putting it in the show afterward on Facebook for people to watch it. Cause it really does this great like timeline job of like describing how this could happen.
But I'm kind of held to that now. So I'm kind of picturing it in this. Otherwise, I would have just placed it. And I've seen parts of this movie before. I've seen scenes of it just like on.
Okay.
If I'm on vacation, it's on TV, and I was kind of like, I've watched some moments. But no, I came into this watching it like as if he is Bond. And
wow, so this was your first full watch through this?
Yeah, and it's very because I like a Michael Bay movie. I have my favorites. I have things I just really don't care about or I don't want to watch. Kind of want to watch his new one, Ambulance, because if it's Jake Gyllenhaal. And
that's fair.
Yeah, there's some actors in it that I really like, but this I've never seen. I haven't seen Armageddon either.
I actually do. Armageddon is stupid as hell. It's so stupid, but I saw it in the theater when I was in high school or college or whatever, and I just was like, "Oh, this is fun." Steve Buscemi. Oh, he's great.
Oh my gosh. Because what else is there? I like Pearl
Well,
Harbor, which I'll
okay, I've never
argue
seen
is
that one.
I think it's really you didn't see it when it came. I saw it with my
No.
grandma in theater. She had like lived through it and like was a nurse and it was like pretty and she loved it. So
I have to admit, like my relationship with Michael Bay is very strained. Like, there's this, which I adore. There's Armageddon, which is stupid fun. I am curious to see Bad Boys. I've
yeah.
never. The thing is, I love Will Smith, and I really don't like Martin Lawrence.
Fascinating.
I've actually seen it. But I just for Grannies, we just sat through all 5 of those god awful Transformer movies.
Right.
I will never touch a Michael Bay movie again that isn't this or Bad Boys when I eventually do sit down and watch.
Well, my other favorite, I think my favorite one. Now this is pushed it to the top. So it goes The Rock, Pain and Gain, and then Pearl Harbor. Not the first one. I like the first Transformer movie, but I like Pearl Harbor because I like that. I think Ben Affleck. I think he did a good thing casting Ben Affleck and Josh Hartnett, who was my childhood crush growing up for all of my life. Josh Hartnett is like the chef's kiss of a pinup boy for me, but because Josh Hartnett looks like Gregory Peck. Kind of like a modern Gregory Peck, and then Ben Affleck looks like a Gene Kelly, Cary Grant mix. And he made him he did this like war movie with these two guys. And I think it was like a melodrama. And I think that then his intent was sincere with Pearl Harbor. And I know no one else believes that or like cares about that, but I think that's true. And this movie is just kind of everything. Because even I'd be like, oh, I remember growing up and never seeing this movie, but remembering it being like such an adult movie. Or like, I don't know, like a cool espionage, like a thriller more than maybe an action movie. And it's not. It's such like a Michael Bay. These tropes are like all throughout. And I can recognize them.
Yeah.
It's like all slasher at this point.
Oh, it really is. Like I'm watching it going, wow, I didn't realize that in almost every Michael Bay movie, there's this like, hey, American government, you are fuck ups and not treating the troops right. Like that's all through Transformers.
Is it? Oh, I bet. I was like, but that's like they're like, oh my gosh, I love it. Because I wrote in my notes, I'm like, everything is so gray in this universe, where you can just come together and go, I'm a soldier, and I know soldiers that are like awesome in real life. I just think it's great that we're like, this is how we indicate how gray our country is, and
right, exactly
in this movie. But also, Ed Harris was right.
Hashtag Ed Harris was right.
At the start of the movie, I was like, why is he a bad guy? I was like, what's his end game? Is he a bit suicidal? But then Chunk, but I love Ed Harris too. So I'm also going to be like, I can change Ed Harris. I can fix him.
That's what you're wait, I guess I got to show people this. Let me take our banner off for a second.
It should be Mrs. Sean Connery, but it is Mrs. Ed Harris because he's in Pain and Gain too. And I'm like, Ed Harris, why are you doing this? I love you, Ed Harris.
I love Ed Harris. I think he is part of what makes this movie work as well as it does. Yeah. And I think like it's the cast that makes this work. Like, because I mean, let's break it down. We have starring top build, which is my first aspect, because I'm not going to argue like the logistics. I'm going to post that video. I will not do any justice any better than that video. I'm going to post things like clock that maybe indicate that this was purposefully coded as a backdoor James Bond movie.
Yeah.
The very first thing is Connery's top build. This is a Sean Connery movie, right? So right there, that indicates kind of, something there. So we have Connery in his prime, and I feel this is like his prime. Like, I know his prime is like 60s and stuff, but I like this for me is prime Connery.
And I have justification for that, Your Honor. I will show that later.
Oh, excellent. So he adds so much to this because he's just such a good actor.
Mhm.
Whether even ignoring the James Bond stuff, just what he brings to the table makes this movie work. Nick Cage, this was, I mean, when Nick Cage was first on the scene, crazy fucking Nick
And
Cage.
just won his Oscar, right? Freshly Oscar.
Oh, right. He just
Because now he was
won
just
the
doing the
Oscar for
action
what was that?
movies. Leaving
Leaving Las Vegas.
Yeah, should never seen.
Which actually, it's a sad movie. It's a
I-
movie I'll never watch again. Yeah, it's sad. But yeah, so I think he's part of what makes this work because he's
I
so
agree.
weird and quirky.
It's the best.
so-
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, please.
No, the best. That was like just like that's the peak before then Con Air comes into play, or maybe that was earlier.
Yeah. No, Con Air is next.
Is it-
That's Nick Cage's next movie, and I know that because I lumped them in my head because I saw them both in the theater.
Timeline.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
got beef with Con Air, but
What kind of put the bunny down? I mean,
the money
come on.
down. This is no. This is peak Nicolas Cage and best usage of him. Like in his
Yeah,
humor.
and there's some good stuff. I love that he's playing against type, like he's the anti-action hero in this.
Yes, and when I was a kid, I thought that was not the case. I just thought because like Face Off, Con Air, and this I was like he's
Right.
gonna be like cool or psycho or like an angry. No, he's not. He's a dork, and it's like, but that is
Yeah.
the way he should always be. Just plain
yeah.
a dork and a scientist. This is what scientists are. Like
Yeah, it works so well. Like the scene that when he first meets Connery, when they send him into the interrogation room,
I love it.
and Connery's like, "Well, will you take the cuffs off?" And he's like, "Yeah, all right, yeah, take the cuffs off, take the cuffs off."
Like overdoing
It's
it.
just- yeah, it's so crazy, but again, it works because Nick Cage is like, that's really entertaining. And then Ed Harris, as we said, who I think like
He's
adds
a
just
noble
as much.
villain.
Yeah, I mean,
So noble.
you feel for him, and at the end, he gets justified, right? No, not justified, but he gets
Redeemed.
you know, redeemed.
I wanted
Yes,
him
thank
more
you.
to be redeemed, but that was perfectly fine. Because he is also a villain that owns up to his mistakes. Like this is a little bit of your comeuppance at Harris
Yeah.
for being so drastic.
Like he, and I do like the fact because we're jumping around, but his whole thing about like, no, we bluffed and they called it. I'm not a psycho. We're not killing 100,000 people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he brings such a gravitas to this, and then your side characters too. Like the Major is, I don't know the actor's name, but that's the guy
David
who played
Morse?
the cop. That's it, David Morse.
Yes, yeah. From I know him from
he played
Treme.
the
He
cop
plays
on
cops.
House.
Yes, he's a cop everywhere. He's a cop in Treme.
Always.
He's a cop in
He's
Disturbia,
got
which
that
I
look.
love.
And then you got what, Michael or John C. McGinty, the guy from Scrubs.
Mhm.
As another one of the subordinates, like who dies pretty like halfway through it.
Yes. So many deaths.
Um,
As soon as I saw, and Michael Bean is also my boyfriend. I'm also Mrs. Michael Bean. And I knew he was like a soldier who's like, come on, guys, like I'm getting you in here, and I can maybe talk to Ed Harris, and we're so close to like coming to some sort of agreement. But I also saw the actor who was Fabrizio in Titanic, and I was like, all the James Cameron actors are going to die. All day. I was like, I didn't know it because I'd also seen the scene where I know Michael Bean was going to die in this movie, and I saw that scene. That was such a turning point for this movie, but I was like, oh no, Fabrizio from Titanic, you're also dead. You're like the gung ho young, like Marine. Everybody's in this movie, Jason, and Tony Todd's in this movie too.
I was gonna say, I was saving the best for last. Like Candyman himself, Tony Todd. Like these. This is the cast. Like I think a different cast, this movie doesn't work.
No, it's perfect, perfectly cast.
Yeah, agreed. And like so. I'm so used to talking about the Connery movies, and we really can't, like the Bond movies, that we really can't talk about this in that way. So should we just go through like the plot?
Yes, yes, 100% the plot, because I will, we'll drop, and we just drop just again as you see fit. Where is your Bond, or if this is all in the canon universe of a '90s imprisoned James Bond, like fan fiction? I'm here for it. I just need to I can point it out. I have examples, Your Honor, of like why I think this is checks out.
So let's go back and forth with it. So I think first off, I think it's coded this way because the very first thing we see is not Goodspeed, who is, I mean, I think Nick Cage is supposed to be the star, not
Yes.
star, but his character is the focal point of the movie.
Our eyes
right?
and ears, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's us there. But we don't start with him. We start with like Ed Harris getting ready for this caper, having these war flashbacks of watching his friends die, and then like being cut loose by the government. And that kind of mirrors what Mason Connery goes through, right? Connery is he mirrors Ed Harris because he's someone who was a very loyal servant to the government who is just disavowed.
You just saying that really, there's a we should have had more of Sean Connery and Ed Harris kind of like being like, you and I are not so different, because wow,
right. I'm surprised we didn't have that moment.
That's an English teacher coming through. Look at that. I didn't notice that. I didn't realize that at all. It makes this movie a lot better to me. Wow.
Right. So I definitely think the coding is there. I don't think it's perfect, but I do think that this is Michael Bay's version of a backdoor like James Bond.
Oh, it should have been. Man, I go and I think it's like, well, he has nothing to lose. So he's also, I was like, when have we had a Bond villain that was this noble? Even in later Craig movies, I need to know who is the most sympathetic. And I don't want to include like a female villain in that. As a male.
Right.
That was like, I feel justified in sort of like, or someone killed my spouse, or like, I don't know, something.
Oh,
who?
The one from Skyfall. Silva.
Yes, and this is Sylvester. Then okay, yeah, you're right. And that's why Silva's my like number one.
That's right.
Probably, right? He's like up there. He's like number 3.
It's right. But he doesn't jump to mind. You think like Goldfinger or something like that.
Yeah, someone a little bit more like, I don't know, iconic. And he's iconic, but he's you're right. Okay, you're right. Silva and Ed Harris are the same.
So I like that. And then I like that we get the nobility of Ed Harris in the very beginning, like right after they do these terrible things and like, well, non-lethally take out these guards and steal, which like this gas, like why does this gas exist?
I kept telling Tom, I go, I keep forgetting this movie is rated R, and like not just R for language or content, like it is like there is goo and gore that I'm not prepared for. And so that's like, oof, like Toxic Avenger style goo.
We see multiple people melt in this movie.
That goes, oh my God, like takes me aback. It's like open mouth kissing in a Hallmark movie. I'm just like, oh, I just didn't remember. I think it's a PG-13 movie and it's not.
It's like, oh, okay. I should have been prepared.
Oh God, this is the 90s. Okay, we could do this. It was an option. It's like RoboCop level. Yeah. So it's a chemical, and I also hate chemical warfare. I realized. I mean,
I'm kind of a fan myself.
That's what's on the day. I was like, I just realized I do not like that. I do not care for that, and don't use that in a movie.
No, it was, and again, I hope that this gas isn't real. I mean, probably could be, but and I think there's a lot of ridiculousness around this gas, but I'm also going to point out there's a lot of ridiculousness around like Sean Connery, James Bond plots.
Yeah. Why is this no? Because I don't know. It comes a little true in our later, like it's a post-Iraq war, Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And Bond wasn't talking about that. We're talking about the Cold War in our 90s Bond movies.
Exactly. So then we see Ed Harris's nobility where as they're getting on the rock, he sees like school children. He's like, okay, kids, go tell your teachers that you've got to get back on that boat and get out of here.
And that's why we love him. And that's why we can fix him. And that's why I miss Ed Harris, because he protects the children. Gets them out of there. Although, I don't remember what happened to then they take hostage. They have hostage. Yeah. Hostage tourists. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone else on the tour is their hostage. Now, I miss this. Did they say why they had to do this at Alcatraz?
Because it was because it was hard to escape, and that's.
Is that what it was? It gave them fortified position.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's like a dumb, and that's also a dumb like. Michael, and also, have you been to Alcatraz? Have you ever been there?
I haven't. No, I haven't. I want to go, but
you got to take. You have to take a boat. and it's just like a fortified. And that was the other. I love that line that Sean Connery is like, "It's a tourist attraction now," or he's like,
Oh
"They're not
yes.
using it anymore," and they're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah," and he's like, "Oh wow." But because it was inescapable, and they can really, if they, and he's a genius. He's like a seasoned. Ed Harris is like the seasoned veteran. Uh, Yeah, they were just gonna lock it down and just like, and then they had the leverage. So I think it's a Michael Bay move.
Yeah, no,
Screenwriting.
absolutely. It makes sense. I just thought, I asked because thought I missed
Yeah,
it, which I did.
yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
ingenious. Someone based this movie around what if we
Yeah.
they took a tour to Alcatraz and was like, hang on a second.
Yeah. So they take over Alcatraz, and the villain's plot is this: they have 6 rockets, all hooked up with this gas, which, if released in the public, will kill tens of hundreds of thousands of people, like an obscene amount of people. And they're threatening. They have a very cool scene where Ed Harris calls the Pentagon or whatever, and I think the Womack. That's the guy from that Aaron Sorkin movie, right? The West Wing.
Yes.
That show.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he talks to this guy Womack and the rest of the government, and he's like, "Look, you fucked up. You didn't take care of the families of the vets, and so what you're gonna do is you're gonna dip in, and this again is very specifically why I like him as a villain. You're gonna dip into this illegal slush fund that no one knows you have, full of tons of money because you sell drugs and illegal weapons through it, and you're going to give that money to me to use at my discretion to pay out, and you're also going to pay out the families." It's like
he's like a Robin Hood,
right? Like they should have just given him the fucking money. He's in the right.
Listen, I said my first note is Ed Harris is right in all cap locks. I don't know if you can see it. It just is.
Yeah. There it
And then I have Hans Zimmer as my second in all cap locks. But yes, agreed. They also, I love that there is just like, information that the government, and he also, he has a great line about, I have, man, like something on my soldiers for too long and I've been eating it, or it's been eating me. It's something, it's a beautiful line.
Oh yeah. I didn't
It's a really
clock
cool
that.
poetic line that I go, only like Broadway caliber Ed Harris could make work. But I'll figure that out what line it was, but it was a really good line. It was like about just how he's just been like tormented, and this is his, he's doing it for his guys. He loves them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what makes his end so heartbreaking, where almost all of his men turn on him when he doesn't want to nuke the city.
I know.
Like I actually give it to the cop because he like pretends he's going to kill Ed Harris and then like has his back because he's the real soldier. But I was like, Tony Todd, come on, man. I thought better of you.
No, we should have had more Tony Todd to begin with. That way we could have led into him maybe being a secret villain. And then David Morse is just there. I was like, oh, he's clearly the like moral compass. Or you should have said something, like he should have said something earlier and fought with Tony Todd a little bit more. If I don't know. But they made it too obvious.
No, I agree though. They needed to flesh that out, especially like because at the end, Tony Todd is like goes psycho,
and he's not like a nothing henchman. This is another classically trained making these crazy lines like work and so sincere and so like everyone's like beautiful glassy watery eyes are just like staring at each other in those last moments. And I kind of thought, I thought this was going to be way more aggro with these 3 guys like David Morse, Ed Harris, and Tony Todd being like, hey, we don't agree, or like, no, we promised each other. I thought they'd be more like just, I don't know, it's more testosterone, but it's not. They're just like genuinely like, I know what I have to do. I know what you're going to do. I know. And then it's just kind of like a split second, ending.
Yeah, no, and I like that. Like it wasn't this over the top aggro thing. Although they do, when Ed Harris dies, they do the.
Well, yes, of course. Michael Biehn, when he's dying, he's on the floor in the air going, yeah,
That's right.
and he's still alive, but everyone else has passed.
Uh, so some of those shots, and the shot when Tony Todd dies, who, by the way, they needed to give him more time because Tony Todd is the worst death in the movie. He is standing in front of a rocket, which is telegraphed 30 minutes beforehand, and the rocket only is there 5 minutes beforehand.
Chekhov's rocket.
Chekhov's rocket, exactly. And then, but then you get like the Nick Cage, like, hey, you like music? We got off on the wrong foot. Do you like music? You like Elton John's Rocket Man? Well, I only ask because it's you. You're the Rocket Man.
My husband's favorite line, because apparently this is his favorite movie, he should know the best line apparently to him is, I don't like soft ass shit. And then, well, boom, you're the Rocket Man.
You're the Rocket Man.
He makes that line work, Tony Todd. And Nicolas Cage, I think I was watching that scene going, it's not crazy, but I go, if Nicolas Cage has an Oscar, Tony Todd should have an Oscar.
Oh, 100%.
When all is said and done after the 90s, that man.
Look, Tony Todd should at least have an Emmy, and I can tell you what for. It is the episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine where he plays older Jake Sisko, who in this alternate timeline loses his dad and grows up and becomes a writer, and it's Tony Todd lamenting about his father, and then you find out at the end Tony Todd is like, yeah, I'm killing myself to snap my dad back to reality and change things. But it's Tony Todd the entire episode.
Jeez. I will watch that right away. Right away. You're telling me it's Tony Todd being a sensitive writer? Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, and I think whether you know the show or not, I think you're gonna love the performance.
And if anybody wants a good Halloween recommendation, watch the remake of Night of the Living Dead with Tony Todd from the 90s. And it was before Candyman. It was before Candyman came out too, and he's just being like an amazing lead.
He's great in that. It's funny because I saw that movie as a kid. That's the first. That's the first one I've seen of that. When I still don't think I've still seen the original. I haven't seen the original, but so I didn't realize that was Tony Todd because as a kid I didn't know who that was. And then, of course, now I know, like he's all over Star Trek and Candyman and this, and he's an amazing actor. I follow him on Twitter just because I love the guy. And we rewatched that, Reg and I, a couple of years ago, because that's Reg's favorite as well. And I was like, I haven't seen it since I'm a kid. And I'm watching. We get to this Tony Todd. And I'm like, holy shit! The black guy in this is Tony Todd the whole time, and I didn't know it.
The whole time.
And changing that character to a black actor, I thought really made the end more poignant in a way that a horror movie shouldn't. Well, no, that a horror movie has a right to be that. It's like sci-fi. It's a good gauge of the society.
Yeah,
but Tony Todd gets the worst death because he's shot with a rocket and then impaled on a spike, and you see the life slowly drain out of the poor man's eyes.
Well, he is personalizing that death. He's that good of an actor.
So good.
I love him. But that was crazy, and I just think I thought he'd be in it a little bit more. Even more, say, like, who else is in this? Michael Biehn, Sean Connery. And so Sean Connery, but what were they like? So they're in Alcatraz, and they were like, we have to go into our secret code, files to find the guy who actually escaped, but he's off the grid and he's not, So Bond did it? Bond escaped from Alcatraz? Is that what we're saying?
Well, I look, if there's anyone who can, we have seen Bond get out of stickier situations.
Then this is the pure spy. He is the purest of James Bond spy.
He is. And I was thinking about this. There are places in this movie that easily could have had a quip. Right? Like when he kills the guy by shooting the machine and drops it on his head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, come on. It could have been like, he didn't see that coming, or he has a splitting headache, but there's none of that. But also,
it's crushed.
This is a James Bond who's been locked in solitary for 30 years.
Yes.
Or 20 years.
I had a line about that where he was like, well, something about I've been, or you're enjoying this. Nicolas Cage says, you're enjoying this. And he's like, well, when you've been stuck in, solitude as long as I have, I'm either reading philosophy or trying not to get gang raped in the washroom. And then
Yes.
he's like, which doesn't happen that often, which means I'm losing my touch. And I was like, that is James Bond.
Yeah. Right.
And the fact that he was like, well, if he's reading philosophy for 20 years, I am married to someone who studied philosophy. This man, and there's a line about it too, where I was like, this Bond is now like a enlightened Bond. He's monkish, like monkish,
Yeah. Right.
right?
Right. He's older, right?
Older.
And he makes reference to that. He's tempered because look, his ego has been tempered. He has that line, right? When Nicolas Cage asked him, how'd you do it? And he said, I looked forward. I took the smallest of hope and nurtured it with more hope. And I clung to the small things, like I would breathe fresh air again, maybe one day meet my daughter. And that's like, that's a tempered ego. And also the fact that he is a child, I think, as you and I can both attest, people who just had children recently, it changes you as a person. It changes your values and such. So I could easily see like this being an older, more mature version of the Bond that we got in the 70s and 60s.
And he's playing it so well. And or like maybe in a way, we have nailed it in this regard better than what was the last James Bond movie? No Time to Die.
No Time to Die.
I think there are some, like, I don't know, themes. And also when you kind of find something worth living for, or because it's not about, at the end of the day, when the bomb, if the bomb goes off, it's going to hit San Francisco. That means Sean Connery's daughter, who he has kind of done this huge escape plan, which I love because I saw that scene too, that he really just wants to escape to see her. It's not to just like, I want to be free and just like live the luxuries. Although it kind of seems like that when he's like, if I get out of here, I want a hotel, I want a haircut, like I want to get a shower, I want to, his demands.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another thing I wanted to point to as this being coded as James Bond, because he doesn't just say I want a nice hotel. He goes, I want a posh suite at the Fairmont. He knows exactly, like, this is he stayed there before, and he knows what he can get, right? So he's like, I want a shave and a haircut. I want a nice suit. And you get him in the nice black suit, right? He gets the haircut and the shave. He's ordering the room service. He's done this before.
And again, I think it's not like he's not going to be picky about martinis because he doesn't drink, or some other, I don't know, like of his like perks or like douchiness. I think he's like more, yes, he maybe not suicidal, but like, all right, I'm going to go, into my favorite stunt is when they're like him and the Michael Biehn Marines or Army guys are going in, and there's like, they're following his map, his like original, how he escaped. And one of them is this weird, stupid like stunt where it's like a weird wheel, a choppy wheel with fire just going up above it. And he's like, well, I had it timed out. I don't know if it's changed. And they're like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, we can't go through here. But he does. And then they're just like, where'd you get this guy from? And I was like, also, like, he's having the best time of his life. It's a 90s Sean Connery.
Right?
And he's just like, kind of, I don't know, that the Bond at this point would be, though, right? He's not going to be angsty.
Yeah, he's not going to be.
Or,
no, I mean,
we're picky.
Are you the same person you were 20 years ago?
No.
I'm not.
A little
I'm
bit.
certainly not, thankfully.
I'm just more like I can control my emotions. And if I am a monk, if I have become this monk by like 60, and and being like, well, I'm still got my personality, but like, what still matters to me, or what's important in life. And even Nicolas Cage, like, I don't know, like, oh God, he is like the most enlightened. If this is the most enlightened Bond I've ever seen in any movie, if this is canon Bond.
Absolutely. And again, it's it's an older Bond who has been tempered by 20 years, but also like another point that it's Bond. He never gives up the goods. Like, the whole reason they've got him in prison is because, and again, this is the MacGuffin to end all fucking MacGuffins, by the way. All of the secrets of the first 100 years of the United States, from the alien landing at Roswell to who really killed JFK.
Like the government's like, we can't. We put all of them in one disc. Where, where is it?
It's like, but again, like this is why I say it rests on the cast, because a lesser cast, I don't buy that.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, a lesser cast cannot pull off some of because some of these lines are stupid.
No, and there, you need to have a twinkle in your eye if you are a Nicolas Cage or a Sean Connery. Because Sean Connery, I wrote, when he smiles at me knowingly, I just feel so safe, and I know everything's going to be okay. It's like because he's so like charming. Like Nicolas Cage is having a panic attack and a breakdown, and of course that
Yeah.
is like a very Michael Bay character. But he's just like all right, like whatever you say. Like he's so comforting. And why are you so comforting? I always
Yeah,
feel
like,
safe with him, always. Yeah.
and yeah, he's Connery.
He's a true
He's like-
leader in a way,
Yeah.
too. What else do I yeah, I said this movie.
I
oh,
love.
yeah.
No, yeah, good.
No, you go. You go. It's like,
No, I mean, I love the when Connery, like when they get out of the rock for the first time, and Connery's like, yeah, that guy, I read his eyes about Ed Harris. He's not killing anyone. All right, so I'm getting the fuck
Yes.
out of here.
I love that too. That you read a person. I was like, and
hmm
I
And
don't.
again, goes to
yeah, only
a
with
Bond
Connery.
thing,
Yes.
because Bond is in the movies canonically very good at sizing people up, very good at knowing who's capable of what, right? So definitely that. But I also love, like, when Connery comes back and saves Nicolas Cage, right? Nick Cage is like, oh, so you thought better of what I said, and he's like, nah, I didn't want to make your daughter or your child, an orphan or something.
Yeah.
And again, that speaks to the whole, having a child change my priorities. Fuck, man, I gotta help you, and again, I appreciate, like, there's character moments in a Michael Bay movie.
I have I think there's a lot of that in a Michael Bay movie. Sometimes it's just not completed or used wisely. I haven't seen Armageddon. I'm told that's sappy.
That's melodramatic.
That's melodramatic. This is a little.
That's Aerosmith singing, "Not gonna close my eyes," while Ben Affleck, like, puts his hand to the screen with Liv Tyler. It's like, you would love it, by the way.
I would. I'm sure I would.
So just to talk a couple other, like, Sean Connery things that I
please, I'll have a whole day every day.
The way he manipulates Goodspeed in the interrogation room is fantastic. He sizes him up immediately.
I love him.
The fact that he sharpens the quarter.
Yes. Spy moves.
I mean, that is a huge spy move. And then, like, just to, like, cut a hole because he knows Womack's on the other side. I love that.
And he is just like, and he hates him so much. You don't see that that's like not losing your cool. There is a look like I don't think Bond would do that too. He never had an enemy at like like at headquarters.
Blofeld after he kills his wife.
Well, but who, I don't know, like a petty, I guess, hatred.
Okay.
Maybe more petty. This guy is probably like a weasel of sorts. Maybe later movies.
But this guy is personally responsible for keeping him in this black site for so long. True. One might say it's the greatest villain Bond ever.
He did.
Went against.
He kept him down. He kept Bond down. That's true. I love that too. And he was just so like, man, he is so just so like smiley and happy and energetic. And like, and maybe you'd say, like, if you're weathered or like an angry guy, I don't know, he'd be more angsty, but he's not. He literally is having, I think that line about, are you enjoying this? Having the best time. He's so energetic. He's the strength of all of the soldiers, like, not in a superhero way, just in a skilled, he looks better in the 90s than he did in the 80s, in the early. We just watched him.
Agreed. I look, if you asked me which Sean Connery I'd go to bed with, either one in this movie or the one in Never Say Never Again, it's this one every time.
But why? What happened? He won the Oscar and then was like immortality?
I
Or
I think you know what it is. I think every actor, leading man actor, right, goes through a transformation where they really stop being able to be the leading man, the James Bond, and they have to pivot, and that's hard. You know who also went through this? Michael Caine, right?
yeah.
Michael Caine was this kind of good-looking leading man, and then when he gets into a certain point, he's older doing movies like Blame It on Rio,
Yeah.
where he's shacking up with his like it's pretty much like daughter porn, daughter swap porn. It's real weird. But like and he's also the fact that he's older is creepy. And I think that's what it was with Connery. Connery was like he had to just accept, no, I've got to look older and just
Mhm,
accept
mhm,
older roles and just lean into that,
mhm.
which doesn't mean you can't be sexy. And I think Michael Caine also kind of realized that.
Oh yeah.
Like, you can, but I think it's a vanity thing for men as they age who are used to being these action young hot thing.
And I have a hot take because all of like my boyfriends are in this, so including Ed Harris, Nicolas Cage, and Sean Connery, who was bald, who was like absolutely hairline receding, and Ed Harris is like was owning it and looked great. It was beautiful forever. And Nicolas Cage has always had that weird thinning hair, and they always have toupees. You know they have a hairpiece, but Connery's hairpiece in this is perfect. Is like
Oh yeah.
what in the what wig? Like it is like nicely thinning. It is artistic. And I'm like, everybody, I know we're either luscious head of hair or bald or shaved. And that's what every guy does. Like all the Fast and the Furious movies. But I go, I miss that. I miss like a nice, and then we're owning it. And like it look, you put wig pieces on to look thin and natural. And why
Yeah.
not? Why not do that again?
I agree. I mean, I think like Connery's famous for getting good pieces, right? Like I know
Yes.
Connery's been bald since he played James Bond in the 70s, 60s, or 70s. I don't think I've ever seen I can't picture him bald. I've only seen him with pieces either so good I couldn't tell or I was just too young and stupid and now I don't notice.
I do love the dad, John Saxon from the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, because he played Nancy's dad in the first one. He did some sequels, but he was like this very handsome, good-looking guy in the 50s. I mean, what is, but like as a heartthrob. And then later in life, he was bald, but he wore like toupees, and he offered two pieces to like directors to be like, which one do you want? This one makes me look older. This one makes me look a little fuller. And but he would just be like, you know, like do what you tell me. I'm like, that's amazing actor. Amazing actor.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, all right. So we get the whole scene at the hotel. Connery escapes, throws Womack over the ledge with some rope. Yep, and again, awesome ingenuity, very clever. He escapes, and then we get this chase scene, which again, I'm going to make an argument here. Coded as a James Bond movie, this is a very James Bond type chase scene, complete with a weird random character just going, "Oh, I'm going to kill that guy!" Like,
yes,
yeah,
Your Honor, you're right. You're 100% right. Yep.
how many times have we seen that? Like, it actually, that character reminded me of he was like the black, because this character was black, the black version of that weird racist sheriff from some of those Roger Moore movies.
100%. And also, if there was someone to do, I guess, like if someone wanted to do like a reboot of a 70s or 60s version of a James Bond, Michael Bay would be the guy to do it, right?
Oh,
You
yeah.
have a beautiful woman, but like just a knockout of a woman, a crazy action scene, and then some questionable comedic choices. Or like, and that happens in this too. Like, but then everyone's happy and it's just like a rollicking good time. Maybe less violence, less
Yeah.
less war, less gore, but
Well, yeah, maybe less melting, because we
Mel's
do
melting. Lots of melting.
have to watch two people melt. And I guess maybe I should amend my statement. They have the worst death in the film.
I don't want that. I don't want that.
No, impale me.
Rocket.
But you actually get that last death scene where like you see Nick Cage with the ball of evil goo, and he puts it in the guy's mouth and crushes it.
Like I was
And
a
then
dick, but
he,
was
okay, and he
bad.
deserved it. But I love the payoff to the foreshadowing in the beginning about like the syringe in the chest. But I gotta ask, what magical shit is in that syringe that it just negates every single toxin in the world? Because they weren't dealing with the same gas or same toxin in the beginning of this movie.
It is a what do you call it? Like a all include no, what the heck is it called? It kicks out, it's a
Catch all.
everybody, yes, catch all, like one of those bad boys. But he just put it in and I asked my husband, I was like, and that will fix it, like, or I was like, that was just he's just gonna go into shock. He's like, yeah, no, it's just like a cure.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I mean, sure, it literally melted the other two guys, but they didn't shoot themselves in the chest with something
And
to stop their flesh from melting.
we don't know what the damage it goes, how quick does it go? I don't know.
But again, no more ridiculous than the scene from Goldfinger where every single Marine on the ground drops at the same time after they gas them in this elaborate plot. So again, ridiculous, yes, still in a tone of what we're going for. I also say yes.
I feel like it was just, also this movie is like I was amazingly paced, but there was just like so many big sequences, like where it's kind of grounded with I mean, like with but by the end of it, we're getting like when it's some like the railway action sequence, which is James Bond like in a
Yes.
way, and then the end and him diving in the water, saving. It's like his Robin. Nicolas Cage is the Robin to this Batman.
Yeah.
To this James Bond.
And I love at the end that they like each other, they respect each other, like because jumping to the because again we're all over the place. This is like look, this movie has been out longer than Sean Connery's character spent behind bars in this movie. Okay, at this point, but yeah, but like because Nick Cage like lies to Womack, he's like, yeah, no, he's dead, like staring right at him, he's dead, and then. Of course you have to. You're going to send this guy back to prison after he just saved everyone and saved your ass no less than 4 times.
I love that though. I do. I love that the way they sort of justify it, where he was like, everyone's what he's like with the casualties, because obviously there's been some explosions, and then he's just like, nope, because as a scientist essentially was like, yeah, he evaporated. He just totally vaporized. So he's like, really vaporized? He's like, yes. And they're like, all right.
And, like the one guy doesn't buy it. He just doesn't care. He's just like, oh, vaporized, you say? Hey, Womack, you hear that? He's vaporized. Look, I gotta do something over there. And he just doesn't give a shit.
Oh, totally true. What did I say? Oh man, let me see if there's any other. But what else with James Bond-esque? I have questions. I would like to talk about so we said he kind of, gets out, but is like leveraging, I'll help you. They're not telling him what it really is about, like in terms of like, it's going to be biological warfare on San Francisco, but he's really doing it to get to the hotel. He can sneak out, go see his daughter, who he is asked her to meet him. Never met, seen pictures of. So what's this timeline? He hooked up with a woman allegedly at a Led Zeppelin concert in the 70s. They had a kid. They were living together, and then he got taken away.
Yes. So I think they say in the movie he was incarcerated in 1962 with The Rock, but he escaped. And then they say that his daughter was born in 71. So
but a year with her and a baby.
Yeah. So I think that for whatever reason he couldn't, like, and again, I think the video I'm going to post covers this. I'm sure it does.
I can't wait to watch it.
But I'm pretty sure that like what happens is is he's still in the country and gets caught again, or gets caught trying to
in
lose
America.
something. Yeah, because they do make the point of, and maybe it is, maybe like he was back here in the 70s doing a mission. It was one of those, oh, hey, you're just coming from a Led Zeppelin concert. Me too. Like an old James Bond special. And, this happens. And then, okay, well, now I don't want to leave. Now I got this kid. My priorities have changed.
Oh.
Shit, now I'm being arrested again.
Again, it's like No Time to Die, except in America in the 70s, which is terrible for Sean Connery. Like,
Terrible.
I feel like, do you think that's a lie that they met at a Led Zeppelin concert? Because she passed
Yes,
away. I wonder
100%.
if she was a spy or if she just like, I don't know, was sort of like sworn to secrecy. She told her daughter a lie or something.
Or maybe it was the Bond girl from Diamonds Are Forever, who was out of the diamond smuggling trade and didn't want to tell her daughter she met like her father while they were on a diamond smuggling mission for Blofeld.
That sounds crazy. And just like, you know what? I like Led Zeppelin. It's changed.
I don't know. Just throwing it out there. But yeah, so can we talk about like how stupid some of the names are though? Like his daughter's name is Jade Angelou.
I didn't know that.
Like
I like Jade.
Nick Cage's Stanley Goodspeed.
Well, because he's a good guy. And also, I remember, because also I have some stupid, maybe just meme stuff, like when he says like, cut the chit chat a-hole. And then I saw a trivia where he was like, he decided his character wouldn't swear. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. And that's a very Nick Cage thing, because the a-hole thing is the one, but he has a couple of ones where you like see him about to curse and he like changes it.
It's so funny because I was like, what? Because I was like that. When I'd watch it, I didn't realize that he wasn't a full FBI agent. I didn't realize he was like a scientist. I was kind of like, hey, or you're an agent, but like you've never been in combat or any field work.
With his 3 weeks of weapons training.
3 weeks of training. I was like, I love that though. And then when he like is a kind of a goody two shoes, good speed.
Yeah. No, I just think the names are. It's so when I was younger and I wrote, right, because I've been writing forever. I always used to think we have to have really interesting names, and like this is kind of shit I would have come up with in high school. Like, yeah, so I got this character Jade Angelou, right? It's like Maya Angelou's last name. If you took that Linda Fiorentino movie I just watched on cable the other night, that's what I would have done.
Not gonna see what's coming. What's Sean Connery? Oh, he's James Mason, not James Mason. John Mason.
He's John Mason, yeah. Which I think that's an intentional choice to give him a very, and this points again to my theory, a very common name, meaning it's not his name, because in this world there are no John Smiths. All right, there's fucking Jade Angelous and Womack's and Stanley Goodspeeds. There are no John Masons.
Stanley's a very dorky 90s name. If I was a male writer in my 20s and the 90s, I'd be like, yeah, Stanley's. That's a dorky name.
Yeah.
Well, what's my baby boy's name? What's Ed Harris's name? I don't know his name. I just call him Ed Harris.
God, I don't even remember.
Probably very American. I also love, we haven't had this ever and we never will because James Bond is such a British series. America versus a Brit. He is the only Brit in this.
Yeah.
Or English, not true. Brit. Scottish.
Oh yeah, because they actually do drop that he's from Glasgow. Which they never actually say he's not Scottish or not from Scotland in the James Bond series.
Yeah, where is he? I don't remember. What was Skyfall? Where does he live?
But we're talking just the Connery ones. Yeah, because in Skyfall they do. It's some
He's not Scottish though in Skyfall.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
He's Brit through and through. Yeah, we don't know. That accent is very weird in the 60s. But
right?
They said that they just dropped that kind of briefly, and he's not a thief. He's not like a thief in entrapment, which is another case I could make.
Right.
Maybe he's a fake alternate universe James Bond in that series, where he becomes a thief. And
that's right. That's what he does after this. And so I've got two other things I want to point to. One, I was wrong. There was a hint of a quip, right?
Oh, they're quips.
No, but
Puns.
I specifically that Connery makes. Connery does not make many, but he does say this to Womack. When Womack doesn't want him to go on the mission, and the head of the Marines are like, "Hey, this guy's getting my men in. Shut the fuck up, Womack. You're not in charge." And he just goes, "Now, Womack, you're between a rock and a hard case." So, look, little rusty on his quips, but he was going for something.
He heard it and he was
And-
like, "Oh, I can't not say it.
It's been so long. I've been making these to myself for 20 years.
Let me warm up a little bit."
And then the other one is he does say when they get to the rock and they pretty much have like what we get as Q branch, right? Like to breathe underwater or whatever. Because in my day they did it with a snorkel and a pair of flippers, which he does in Goldfinger. If you remember when he comes up in the beginning.
I don't remember him saying that in this movie. That's crazy.
I wrote it down.
What was my other line that I thought was very? I think I had rock in a hard case. Was very Bond. Dang, what was it? I don't see having another killing another million, but that was like that was like an enlightened James Bond line where he says he's doing this to honor those who died on his team, and he goes, "I don't see how killing another million is gonna like rectify that." And I was like, "Oh, that's an enlightened
Harris."
Yeah.
And so you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I wasn't on my notes, but I'm going to point to that scene again to sort of further the evidence here, because how does he literally goes to Stanley, "Okay, you got 2 rockets left. You got 2 rockets left. Go deal with them. All right. I'm going to go and buy you some time." And that's right after they put a gun to one of the hostage's head. And Stanley goes, "I love this. Like, what about the guy's head?" And Connery just gives him the thumbs up, and he goes, "Okay, what does that mean?" But Connery literally just walks in, hands up to the bad guys, and goes, "All right, I'm the one you're looking for. I'm the one you're fighting." Like, that's a very James. We've seen him do that a ton of times.
We don't see. What I think is like this is like, again, when you talk about like he's like, I don't know, maybe it's just like him being such a. We don't have 90s leading man like this anymore, and this is a leading man to me. Like this, where you're just going like, you're so casual, having the best time. I feel safe with you because you are just like so smiling and happy in a good way, but also just like to lead, be like that's a leader. That's a leader in a way, right?
Yeah, and you see that too in the when he takes control, like after the Marines are gunned down, like that's Connery's show. Connery leads that whole thing.
He's like, don't, yeah, and they're just like, ooh, that's actually very suspenseful to me. Post when, and even Nicolas Cage is like, please don't go up there, please don't don't make it worse, or don't go, you're gonna get like killed. And then Sean Connery is also like, yeah, no, like we're like, he's already kind of thinking in advance. But Bond never has. We never see him do that. Like he's never in an isolated incident like this where it's like negotiating with terrorists, and it's just like,
okay, that's
or
true,
it's like, but I love that. I mean, I think that's like, this is what it would happen if he was.
Yeah,
I would like.
That's true.
He's not.
Yeah, I mean, look, his tactics have changed, but again, we did watch him in Goldfinger be like, okay, I'm just going to be your prisoner now. I'll win in the end. I always do. Like, which is kind of that's his strategy here. Like, he when he gets there, he realizes Ed Harris isn't a maniac, but he doesn't clock that the others are, right? And he did not know that about Ed Harris. As far as he knew, he could have been walking into his own execution.
Yeah.
But there is an awesome back and forth where him and Ed Harris are like quoting philosophy and literature to each other. And I actually want to point to that as well, because throughout the whole movie, he's quoting philosophy. He's talking in these riddles, right? And what's one thing that we've seen Bond do when he wants to get under someone's skin is show his knowledge. Like he does it to M with the
Oh.
wine, right?
Yes, and also and like, oh gosh, later with some a poet. Oh gosh, who is it? It's in
Oh,
Skyfall.
Oscar Wilde.
Yes, and yeah.
And that's actually a really cool, very well written scene. Because I was talking about how some of this is terribly written, but some of it's really well written. Because Ed Harris says, because that's right after he says, I don't see how you're a fucking idiot. I don't see how killing 100 million people, whatever it is, is going to help your cause. And Ed Harris gives him the Thomas Jefferson quote.
Yes.
And again, this is Ed Harris saying this: the tree of liberty has to be watered with the blood of the innocents at times. And then that's when Mason shoots back. What is it? Patriotism is something of the cruel. I'm misquoting it, but that's the gist of it. And then Ed Harris, who's been circling him, like hits him in the back, and Connery falls, and he just goes, "Thank you for proving my point." Like it's a great scene.
I guess maybe you just said that. But it's because that's all of him just being like, I also, when did Hunt for Red October come out? Before this.
Before this, I think Hunt for Red October was 94.
Also, he looks way younger in this than he did. It's just like, I don't know, a gravitas thing. There is no one is more youthful in this movie than Sean Connery. It is shocking.
I agree. You know what? I bet you though, even if he wasn't instructed to play this as James Bond, I would not be surprised if he went, all right, well, I'm going to have fun with this in a way I couldn't with James Bond. You know, like I wouldn't be surprised if that was his headcanon.
I hope. And I was like, there's just a full revival. And a revival, I mean, just like, are you loving your life? Are you energetic? Are you like joking? Are you messing around? That's what I mean by like revival of like an actor or like somebody. But then yeah.
Are you looking for another Bond moment?
Kind of. I have one here. Bond was leaving, but he knows people because he was like, yeah, he reads in his eyes. He's like a monk.
I was also another scene is the scene in the morgue when they walk in and there are 3 Marines and Connery like ganks the first one by throwing a knife in his throat. Goes, never hesitate. And then literally just like runs at them and just guns them down. Now, again, that's the kind of shit we've seen James Bond do, like taking out multiple enemies with the element of surprise and his prowess. And I mean, and again, awesome scene, like nails that guy in the throat.
It's a little alarming, but he's just like, that's when you feel safe. That's when you feel extra comfort, or like, I don't know how you shift into like, well, he's a little unpredictable. He's going to run away. You can't trust him. He can't be on your side. And to now when Nicolas Cage kind of saves him with his daughter and is like, I need you. Come on. Like, I did the solid for you. But then it's like when you're in the unpredictable, craziness of Ed Harris's realm. Yeah. You got to get in there. You got to,
right.
Got to throw.
All right. So I actually think that's my last piece for this, but I think I've made a decent case, which will only be strengthened when I post that video of people better than me, more research than me.
No, I think you're 100% right. And again, I just suggest if anybody wants a companion piece, go watch Entrapment. I think
Entrapment's awesome.
That's what's up. I think you do 100%. The Rock into Entrapment, which is a little bit more wholesome, a little more romantic. If we want a full romantic, an elder Bond into his romance years with Catherine Zeta-Jones, like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and look, if you like to see Sean Connery kick ass, go to Highlander. Highlander's a great movie with Sean Connery in it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually Egyptian. I'm not Scottish. I'm Egyptian from Spain. My name is Ramirez.
You're like, what?
You are clearly Scottish, sir.
He's lived a life. You can choose whatever accent you want.
I'm Egyptian by way of the Highlands. But all right, so there is outside of the Connery stuff, there is one other scene we got to talk about before we end this, and that is the scene. It is probably my most remembered scene of this movie. It is like definitely Michael Bay's money shot. It's when Nicolas Cage gets the green flares, and he's just put that thing in his chest, and he gets up, and he's like pulling him up, and then you see him like, and then the bombs drop behind him. If I was teaching a film class and I needed to show, I had 5 minutes to show the class what Michael Bay's movies were all about, it would be that shot.
It's a beautiful shot. It's all that's all Pearl Harbor is. When you watch Pearl Harbor, it's all those shots. It's a great. I forgot that was like from this movie, because I think that's kind of an overused. I watched video essays of Michael Bay.
I didn't realize you were such a super fan, like such a Bay head.
I watched Pain and Gain because it's The Rock. It's like the best Rock performance ever. It's Mark Wahlberg, which is like, kind of perfect. Falcon.
Is he a scientist?
No, they're juice heads. They're like workout guys who are idiots who get involved in like what's it called? Like a Coen brother. It's like Coen Brothers meets Michael Bay, but it's all appropriate. Like these are muscular like workout guys who like got involved in a crime, and it's kind of funny and like based on a true story, and it's, you can't write it, but it's perfect Michael Bay. Yeah.
That's maybe I'll watch that because I do like The Rock.
That's like the best. I'd say it's a quick movie. It's a perfect pairing of like, it's a perfect marriage. Like, this is it.
It's the Holy Trinity of
Holy Trinity, sure.
As long as you don't try to get me to watch another Transformers movie, Ginny, because I swear, I almost quit Grannies over that, man.
I'm so sorry you had to do it, and I'm sorry you had to do it.
I was in that last one, and for weeks on Grannies, I couldn't stop doing the Wahlberg impression. I just go, hey, what's up? Say hello to your mother for me. He wasn't even in the movie. I just couldn't get out of my head.
Like, he's gonna show up. Where is he?
Yeah. Yo, bro, come to Wahlburgers.
You're like, Mark, you don't have any lines. You say whatever you want. Say whatever you want.
No, I'm an inventor. I invent shit.
And go.
Yeah.
And action.
And cut. All right. So, do you have anything else about this movie? Except I'm going to say this. I'm sorry. No, that was
go for it.
Do you have anything else about this movie?
No, I just love Sean Connery. I love Ed Harris, and I love Michael Biehn, and I do love a '90s Nicolas Cage. It all makes sense. And I miss all of our men could just be a little bit balding, and not even full bald, just like let the little hair there, like own it, or like let your receding, thinning hair show, and we're fine. You're all attractive.
If I had receding hair, I'd let it grow.
Work it, just coming back a little bit, own it.
The one thing I did want to point out is just how, and I guess because I was looking at this through the lens of a James Bond movie, how absent this movie is of any females. Like, there are the two props, which is the pregnant girlfriend and the daughter.
Who are beautiful.
And I think that's it.
Yeah, and they always, and I love it. Also, Michael Bay trope that I know well is that you have to look like a model, like a Victoria's Secret model. But these girls were like good actresses. Like the wife was actually kind of, the fiance was funny. But then like Claire Florani can't act, but she looks stunning. And then is like, and Michael Bay eventually gets to like, a pure model, but these girls are just like beautiful women that he was like, I can photograph you gorgeously. Like nothing salacious, but they're just knockouts. They're like all that's Bond-esque though. That's like a 60s Bond. We're like, do you look beautiful? And like your magazine will dub over your voice. It's okay. That's a Michael Bay move, I think. That we don't do anymore.
Yeah, I know. I agree. And actually, I wish the pregnant girlfriend had more to do, because I actually know that actress. She was on that show, that James Caan show, Las Vegas.
Oh, okay. I thought she was on One Life to Live, and I was like, that checks out. I think that's what I know her from.
Probably was on One Life to Live as well, but I was a General Hospital guy, so I didn't really watch One Life. That was my mother's. I was all about Sunny.
Oh.
I'm not kidding. I watched like that's how I kept my sanity in grad school because I would teach all day.
It's healthy. It's a healthy, like a nice, consistent routine. After school,
Needed it.
we go home, watch One Life to Live. My mom
Oh,
watched All My Children. I was not. I know All My Children, but I'm a One Life to Live girl.
actually, no. I'm sorry, Ginny. You were wrong. She was on General Hospital.
She was. I don't.
I mean, maybe you're not wrong. Maybe she was also on the. I mean, they jumped all over the place, but she was dating one of the mob enforcers, like the hitman with a heart of gold.
Sure. Because I think she's General Hospital. Yes, it's like the little more.
But she probably was on all of them because I know they hop all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, God, I'm kind of miss watching those.
Oh, I miss. Oh,
Anyway,
don't get me started.
but I can't. There's too much out there content wise for me to like watch that stuff anymore. All right, so closing thoughts. Like, so do you think A was a successful mission, and B, was this a successful Bond mission?
Yes, and yes. It's an amazing movie. It's on the Criterion Collection for a reason as a film, but watch it knowing he's Bond or just like manipulating your mind to adapt the script how you want to. Yeah, I think he's Bond. I think it's like a Bond adventure. It's like a really amazing one at that. And so and that's kind of a way to top off your Bond or my Bond. Like, oh, he's so amazing. And yes. Yeah, I like that we ended on this.
I agree, and I'm going to say this. I don't know if canonically it 100% works out. I think you're right. There is a little mind bending to do, but I think there's enough here where I could say that consciously or subconsciously, this was coded in certain ways to indicate that this could be James Bond. And I don't think that was accidental because Michael Bay's not the best filmmaker, but he's not he's not stupid.
Yeah,
he
gets it. No, he gets their jokes are there. The tongue in cheek is
right. Like and this has the dead seriousness that all the Michael Bay movies does. But again, as you said, there is a bit of a tongue in cheek. There is a bit of a jokiness here. There is nods to like we had just gone through. So yeah, I think regardless of the reality, I think it is coded on some level as a James Bond movie, and I think it's an excellent movie. I think if you haven't seen it, go see it. And Ginny, I'm so happy that I gave you an excuse to sit down and watch this movie start to finish.
I'm so excited, and I'm gonna rewatch it again.
Oh yeah, I watch this every couple of years. I throw this on.
Every time I watch it, it's always like at the beach or like it's the summertime, and I'm like watching someone else's TV, and I'm like, it's rock. Good 90s summer movie.
Yeah, I mean, I told you about my obsession with Sean Connery as a kid, right? Like I've discussed this on the podcast.
Does it bleed into the 90s though when you're a little
bit
older?
No, it's about the 90s. It starts in the 90s because that's when it's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. It's this partially Untouchables, Hunt for Red October.
Yes, which I just watched recently too. I just watched that like a year ago. I was like, oh my god, why aren't we talking about this as a country?
It's a good movie from what I've seen of it. Highlander, of course, I was big into Highlander. But yeah, so like that, this looking Entrapment, this looking Connery is the Connery I am nostalgic for and I am obsessed with. So,
Peak Connery.
Love this movie. Absolutely, sexiest Connery.
Sexy, 100%, 100 million percent. Yeah, that's amazing.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We have gotten officially through our first season, our James Bond season. We have a couple of more pickup episodes we want to do in this genre. And then we're going to go into season 2, which we'll talk about at another time. But in 2 weeks, we'll be back. And I figured, Ginny, following the Connery stream, the fact that you and I both love this movie, let's do Avengers.
Oh, it's going to be such a mess.
Look, I love the movie because it's Connery and Uma Thurman and Ralph Fiennes and the Avengers. Nothing works in this movie, and I cannot wait to talk about
my 10-year-old mind about why I loved it and what hit for me, but what was intriguing about it? Oh, complex. It's so complex.
Yeah. So I'm excited to rewatch it. I think I'm going to watch some of the old Diana Rigg, Mrs. Peel episodes
Yeah, good choice.
to prep, and then I figure in 2 weeks we'll reconvene and we'll talk Avengers.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great night.
You